My next guest is not only a pioneer in television, but he is also one of the most successful producers in the industry. Among the games he has created and put on the air are What's My Line, To Tell the Truth, I've Got a Secret, The Price is Right, Password, Family Feud, and hundreds of others. One half of the team of Goodson and Todman, please welcome Mr. Mark Goodson. The list of television programs that you have put on American TV is endless, and I guess
astounding.
Astounding. The first one was What's My Line?
Television, What's My Line? That's right.
And that was. Tell us about that show, which is
before you were born, I would assume, right?
I remember seeing it on television when I was younger. Yeah.
People always say I saw it as a little child, which rather disturbs me because it means that my hair was brown then. What would you like to know about What's My Line?
Well, it was a more than just a game show or a quiz show, huh?
Yes, What's My Line really was a kind of a switch on what had been done up to that point. Up to that time, we had shows like Information Please and shows where we sort of stumped the panel. We sort of turned things around in their head, and we had the panel trying to guess about a human being who was sitting over there and figuring out what he did for a living. And it was sort of took the country by storm, and became very big.
The host of the show was seemed like an unlikely candidate for the host of a game show.
Everybody on that show was brand new at that time. Bennett Cerf was a publisher. Dorothy Kilgallen, who was a writer of columns. Arlene Francis was an actress. She was the only performer on the show. And ultimately, Steve Allen came on before he did The Tonight Show.
Right.
And so in a sense, it was really a sort of a predecessor of talk shows like this one.
Yeah. It was very popular and also some
cheap.
folks...
Also inexpensive. $50 was the maximum giveaway.
Yeah. And to produce, I guess it would be inexpensive.
Cost about, I guess, a half-an-hour show in those days. What's My Line cost about $1,500 for the whole half hour. I would say that show today, if we did it, would be close to 100,000, I guess, like your show.
And some people in Cuba also were doing this show, right?
Well, that's a different story. One of the problems we have in a show, there really is no international copyright, and somebody in Cuba wrote us a letter saying, gee, we've heard you have a great show called What's My Line, and if we like it, we'd like to lease it and put it on. And we said, fine. We sent them what was called a kinescope in those days. It was before there were any tapes. And they sent it back after looking at it, and they said, no, this is not for us in Cuba. We don't really care for it. This is the days of Batista. And a friend of mine said, I think I was in Cuba a few weeks ago. I saw your show, What's My Line, down there. So right away, I got on an airplane and went down there. And I looked around in the papers. There was no What's My Line in the papers. So I said in my best college Spanish to a taxi driver, do you have a show that deals with jobs? He said, it's called Gagne con Cresto, Win with Cresto, which is a chocolate. And I went to that show, and it was exactly What's My Line. And after the show was over, I went up to the producer, and I said, where did you get the show from? And he said, we sent for a film to America. It was called What's My Line, and we took it. It's marvelous. And I said, I created that show. And they said, very good for you. You must be very intelligent.
They didn't much care that it was not the thing to do, huh?
If I had sued, I think I would have been in jail.
Yeah. We have some videotape of another show of yours now in another country. We have to pause here for station identification. We'll be back, however. Welcome back to the show. Let me tell you who else is going to be here. Producer of Middletown, Peter Davis, and also plenty of other wonderful things. Don't just take my word for it. So now we were talking about What's My Line being in Cuba. Now you have another show, The Match Game, which is also seen in Germany.
Was seen in Germany.
Yeah, and it's called, it's no longer on there.
It's called Schnick Schnack.
Schnick Schnack.
Schnick Schnack, yeah.
Yeah, and we have a videotape of that when it was on all over the country, or
all over Germany.
Yeah, okay. And will we recognize any of these people?
No.
Okay.
But you might recognize the game.
The game will look familiar. Game. Okay, this would be the German version of the Match Game.
Auf die Plätze. Fertig. Schnickschnack. Mit Horst Jansson, Katharina Valente, Wolfgang Stier, Senta Berger, Harald Scherer. Outrutsch beginnen. Und als Gastgeber Klaus Wildbolz. Machen Sie mit und lachen Sie mit bei Schnickschnack.
Und alle spielen mit. Ein gerichtliches Nachspiel wird es für den psychokinetischen Gabelverbieger Uri Geller geben. Eine Schwedin hat ihn vor Gericht in Malmö auf Schadenersatz verklagt, da sich während einer Vorführung ihr Schnickschnack verbogen hat. Da sich während einer Vorführung ihr
Besteck verbogen.
Ihr Besteck. Ja.
Welches Besteck?
Ja, das ist doch, also das hat doch Chancen auf Übereinstimmung. Was?
Bei mir ist es weiter oben.
Katharina?
Bei mir ist es ein bisschen unten gerutscht.
Ja, das ist.
Bei mir liegt es dazwischen.
Ja, ich finde, das ist schon auch ein Essbesteck, oder?
Harald?
Ich habe lange nachgedacht und bin dann zu einem ganz ähnlichen Ergebnis gekommen.
Snick, snack. We read off this list of game shows that have been monstrously successful. Have you had some that have come on and for one reason or another just disappeared about halfway into the week? They're gone and...
Sure, a lot of them, but I tend to forget them and squeeze them out of my mind.
Have you ever been embarrassed by any of your own game shows? Sometimes people make fun of game shows. Have you ever been
How
bothered?
could they make fun of game shows?
Well, you know, sure. Have you ever found yourself thinking, oh, this is maybe a little silly?
Yeah, of course. I think there have been times when I felt that... I think our game shows on the whole are reasonably dignified, but there have been sometimes been silly, sure.
Can you remember a really silly show that you...
A really silly show. At the moment, I can't. Was I supposed to?
No, you don't. Certainly, it's not part of it. You'll get paid nonetheless.
I see.
Well, I had a buzzer here.
Yeah,
that we could,
that's right. But you know what schnick-schnack means?
No, I don't know.
Before I came on, and I thought they were going to ask me, I ran up and I called my German housekeeper, Gisela, and I said, for God's sake, what does schnick-schnack mean? And she said, it means a little talk. And I said, a little talk? She said, no, a little tiny talk. I said, oh, a little tiny talk? She said, no, it's even smaller than that. So I have no idea.
Smaller than tiny talk.
That's right.
Are game shows still as popular in this country as they once were?
It all depends. Family Feud, I think, is as popular as any show we've ever done. Yeah.
Is that the... does that seem to be the all-time great popular show?
Each show in its day, I think Password was great in its day, Price is Right is still popular, but I think Family Feud today has captured a more substantial audience than most, yeah.
Now, who puts these together? Who has the idea?
Oh, we have a team. I think that Family Feud probably came out of my head, but there were others of us who contributed too.
And do you, I mean, are you like a joke writer? Are you constantly looking for something to...
No, I'm not a joke writer, but
no, but I mean as far as ideas go.
Well, we were I don't know how much time I have to tell you this, but we were playing around with... Family Feud was based on polling. And one day, just for fun, we went into an audience in New York. I think it was in this very studio where we were doing To Tell the Truth. And we handed out a poll. This is during the Watergate trials. And we said, name somebody that people tend to dislike, living or dead. And we got back the answers. And the number one answer was Nixon. The number two answer was Hitler. The number three answer was the devil. And the number four answer was Howard Cosell. So I thought, well, this poll is ridiculous. So we went out to California, repeated it with the Price is Right audience, and got the identical answers. So I thought, this is going to be an interesting show.
Yeah,
It
that's
worked.
fascinating. It's
Yeah.
quite a list of folks there.
Yes,
that's
that's
amazing.
quite a combination.
This gentleman's name is, of course, Mark Goodson. We're going to pause here, and we'll be back, though. Don't you worry. Thank you very much, Mark.